Community in Limpopo is still reeling from a devastating thunderstorm that hit the area during the early hours of Friday morning. Heavy rains left one person dead there and many other families displaced. We're joined now by the MEC for Cooperative Governance and Human Settlement and Traditional Affairs in Limpopo, Basikopo Makamu. He visited the area. In fact, he is in Giyani today as he joins us. MEC, good evening and thank you very much for your time tonight. So you are in Giyani even as we speak right now. What is your assessment of the damage sustained both by people but also the infrastructure in Giyani?
Thanks very much, Thabo, and the viewers at home. I must indicate that coming from the cyclone Eluse with the disaster affected the province, as we visited Giyani today or being here in Giyani, it is a worrying factor that most of our people have lost their houses, but also the infrastructure, schools, some creches have lost their roofs. But what worries us, and which is a concern, is that we also visited the family of Mashaba at Mpagani village, where one of the breadwinner, the owner of the house, the head of the house, has lost his life due to thunder, which hit him on the road, which the matter is still very hard to accept, and the family, we paid condolences on behalf of the Premier in that particular area. But I must indicate that we are still continuing with the assessment. As we speak, it could be almost 125 households who are in a dire situation after the thunderstorms and the windy stormy that was around Giyani. And we continue with our team to do assessment. Even today, they will continue with the assessment when we're also assisting them to visit some families and try to give a relief that could be able to be given to those families.
Now, rightly so, you mentioned earlier on that it was just about 2 months ago already that the Mopani district municipality had deployed the disaster management team to Muyeshe village outside Giyani because of the tropical storm Eloise, which of course wreaked a whole lot of havoc in the area as well. Except for the damage that you are seeing, are there injuries that are being reported?
As we are informed and assessment continue, we only have got that of the one man, Mr. Mashaba, who has lost his life. In the other areas, when I got into the houses, people were saying they were able to run for a cover when the roofs of their houses were being blown out by the windy storm. But as we speak, we don't necessarily have anybody who has reported injury out of the storms.
What's the assistance then being given right now as far as support is concerned for the displaced families?
I must indicate up front that it's very encouraging that in some instances the neighbors gave cover or accommodation for the people who required accommodation, despite the fact that our disaster team were readily available to assist with the temporary structure in the form of tents and other means we use as a temporary accommodation. But as we speak, we're giving families, because some of them lost their foodstuffs. Wherever we went today, we're giving them food parcels for them to take them through the previous remaining days for the month, so that they can be able to get either their grants or salaries to be able to get their foodstuffs. But we also continue to ask whether they will require blankets or some other things. But in the majority of houses that I visited, they were fine with the assistance that they were given even before my arrival by the team from municipality, the disaster, the social development. So I can simply say that people were happy with the assistance and the timeous availability of our staff on their sides.
Yeah. Now, normally when a disaster of this nature strikes, those who are caught in it also lose very valuable documents. Now, I hear you talking of social relief of some sort in terms of grants that they can be able to collect. Is there some kind of coordination as far as the documents are concerned? Maybe others have lost their IDs. The Department of Home Affairs are kicking in there?
We have not yet received that. Because the rain did not necessarily have, or it has not been a heavy rain as such, but it was more of windy storms. But you remember, like I said, we were coming from the cyclone Eluse. We will continue to alert our people to say they must always make sure that their valuable documents, the identification certificates, they must continue to keep them at the very safe places, and we continue to advise that, because you can see that the rains are persisting in all our areas in the province. We have never seen a rain that was persistent for more than 3 months like we're seeing now. So we continue to be alerting our people. Where I went, in some instances, I still caution people about making sure that they don't cross the rivers, because immediately you have a small rain around the area, most of the rains are flowing above the levels or even above bridges. So we continue to be making sure that we alert our people that wherever there's rain, they must always remain in the house and make sure that they are taking cover, in the sense that they don't have to test the flowing water.
Right, MEC, before we let you go, of course, as the MEC of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs in Limpopo, would like to give you an opportunity, I suppose, as well, to send your message on the passing of His Majesty, the King of the AmaZulu Nation, King Goodwill Zwelithini.
Of course, I will say on behalf of the provincial government and on behalf of the Premier of the province, Honorable Chukuma Tabata, we will want to pass our condolences to AmaZulu Nation and the country at large for having lost a very influential and instrumental and progressive traditional leader in the form of King Goodwill Zwelithini. I must indicate that during this time and hour where a country is facing challenges, we required their leadership. You will have seen his contribution towards peace in the whole country, but also in KwaZulu-Natal, even during the time of political violence. He is sorely missed during this time of the hour, that you could have made so much as we are trying to make sure that the institution of traditional leadership in the whole country becomes so uniform and be able to be part of the governance structure that will be able to make sure that service delivery does affect our people, or it gets to be delivered. I think as a country, as the KwaZulu-Natal, AmaZulu Nation, and the country at large, he will be sorely missed. We only believe that the family will be able to make sure that the succession becomes a process that will be able to be acceptable to everybody, and make sure that whoever takes over will pick the spear from where he has left and continue to make sure that he leads the AmaZulu Nation to the higher level.
MEC, I appreciate your time. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. That's the MEC Basikopo Makamu, the MEC for Cooperative Governance, Human Settlement and Traditional Affairs in Limpopo.